Yep. Good morning, everyone. So, yesterday we started discussing about styles. And first point, what we learned about style is how many ways we can integrate styles into page. Three ways. What are those? Inline, embedded, external file. So yesterday we discussed about inline and embedded. So, what is difference? Inline is fast, but problem is we cannot reuse. Embedded we can reuse, but it is slow. Another problem is we cannot reuse across pages. In one page you embed, it will be only in that page. Now we have another important some questions I explained, like what should be the MIME type of file. Write styles, you need to mention type. The MIME type is text/CSS. We discussed about what is media type. Media type, you can target styles for screen, you can target for printer, and you can target for speech. Right? Those things we discussed in yesterday's session. Next, important after understanding that, one more, today we will see how to access external file. So, external style sheet, the third one is, the third technique, external style sheets. So, inline, embedded, external. External style sheet means, so in this technique, the styles are defined. The styles are defined in a separate CSS file. In a separate CSS file. Styles are defined in a separate CSS file. And what is the advantage is, so that you can access and use across pages. So you can use across pages. Actually, it is a cascading technique. It is a cascading technique. Generally, CSS we call cascade style sheets. What is the meaning of cascade? What is the meaning of cascade? It's a general English term only, not any software related. What is the meaning of cascading? Cascading, one example I will tell you. Suppose you are playing cards. We have playing cards. I given you 13 playing cards, and you need to see what those cards are. Will you separately open and see each and every one? Will you separately open and see each and every card? No, you hold your 13 cards in your hand and you cascade them. You know cascading? Understood now? You will cascade them. When you cascade, what happens? all 13 cards will be in one view, but one behind another. That is cascading technique. That means cascade is nothing but what? This is your first card, this is your second card, this is your third card. Am I right? It will arrange like this. This is called cascading. That is the meaning of cascade. So this is a general cascade approach. Now tell me, what is speciality in this arrangement? What is the purpose of this kind of arrangement? What is the speciality of this type of arrangement? That means from the foreground, you can see what is present in background. You don't need to switch to background. You can see what is in the background from foreground. That is the nature of what? Cascade. So what happens now is, generally, what is the point is, we usually create a CSS file. In that we write some code. Then we have different pages. Suppose we have some pages. Like I have some page home like this. This is some home page. Home like this. We are having some pages. Now generally what happens like that, you can have several pages. So we have a home page. So we have some contact page. So like that we have some pages. Now this is your CSS file. Now this is the CSS document. This is the CSS document. In that all the code is present. Now what happens is, this page, your home page, can go and cascade over this CSS. It can cascade over CSS. That means what happens? It is present in the backend, but accessible to the front end. That means you keep in the back, but you can see in the front. That is the nature of cascading. That means now what you can do, any kind of file, you can cascade on it. That means style sheet will be only one. Any page can cascade over it and it can get its style. That is the meaning of cascading. Why they are called CSS? Cascade style sheets. Because they are arranged in a cascading technique, so that they are present in backend and visible to the front end. That is the mechanism of cascade. That's why we call as cascading technique. That is why it is called cascade style sheets. Cascade style sheets. So how we do this? First, syntactically. First, what you have to do is add a new CSS file into project SRC folder. SRC, in SRC we will put styles folder. So already in our project we are having SRC folder. I told you that all dynamic files we keep in SRC. Dynamic means CSS, JavaScript and all. So let's go here now, our project. In our project, let's open the project here. And in our project, we will go to the folder. Yeah, there is an SRC folder. In SRC, we will add a subfolder. one styles. In SRC itself, we will add another folder scripts. That means I am adding two folders in SRC, one styles and scripts. Let's go to the styles and add a new file. The name I will give as effects.css, a separate style sheet. So we are writing the file effects.css. In that, you can write the styles. That means you can configure the styles like this. Suppose heading 1, what you want color as some white, some background color as some red, some text align as center, like this. We define this. Now, after this, what we have to do, link this CSS file to your page. How to link a CSS file to our page, we already know. We linked Bootstrap icons. We linked the Bootstrap files, yes, last session. So link the CSS file to your page. You know, link relation is equal to style sheet href is, it is somewhere .src in that styles in that effects.css. That's how we do. So you create a separate CSS file, put all the CSS code in that, and you just link it to your page. So what is good about this technique is, what is the major advantage is you can reuse. So you can link this style sheet anywhere and you can use the effects. But we have drawback also. The drawback is using external files for a page will always increase the number of requests for page. That means as a web developer, you have to remember this point. If number of files you are linking to your HTML page, then the number of requests will increase. And number of requests are increasing, then page load time will increase. So in web designing, we should not link many files to a page. If you are linking many files to page slow. Page becomes slow in rendering. It becomes slow in accessing. That is very big problem. So unnecessarily, we should not use the CSS files. If you don't want to use across pages, then better write embed. If you don't want to use anywhere in the page, better write inline, right? So nobody can ask like which one is best, because which one is best, that depends on your requirement in project. And in one page, all three can be used also. Some styles we write embed, some we write inline, some we bring from external files. All three are used. So technically, using an external style sheet will increase the number of requests. So what is the note here is, so using an external style sheet will increase the number of requests and also page load time. Using an external file will always have this problem. Using an external style sheet will increase the number of requests and also page load time. This is important, right? So generally, while working with CSS, you should know that. I will show you. I will write some effects here. H1 background color, some green, some color as white, text align as center like this. We will go to public folder, or we will create here separate folder. We will create a separate folder, CSS examples. Okay. Just I am keeping a separate folder. Everything you can add in public, but I am just keeping in a separate for our example sake. I will say home.html, and here we have heading 1, some HTML, heading 1, some CSS, heading 1, some JavaScript. And we want to use this, the effects I want to use in this page. I want to use those effects in the page. Then we have to link that here. So in the head section, we have to link relation is what? Style sheet. href / src styles fx.cs. Now those styles will apply to this page. Styles are coming from an external style sheet. So if you want to reuse across pages, then you can use this, right? This is one simple concept of working with it. I will put this example page here. Just roughly the example page, how we can link and use. Now, while working with external style sheet, one very important question asked in real-time interviews and requirements is, they asked the point, what is minification? This is very, very important. In a real-time project development, we will not use the CSS files directly. We need to use a technique called minification. Actually, what is minification? Nothing but minification is a coding technique which is used by developers to reduce the size of code, which will reduce the size of file. Because already last session we discussed, if file size is increasing, your space is occupying. You need to buy space. So in web design, especially JavaScript, CSS and all, as much as possible, you need to compress the code. That means compressing means not zip files. Here compressing is writing code in such a way that logic remains same, but functionality is same, but number of lines are reduced. I will tell you, you know that actually, if you are learning programming languages, you know that techniques actually. Suppose I am writing an if condition, and if condition, so this is on true, what should happen? Else, and on false, what should happen? Now, you people can write this in like this: condition, question mark true, colon false. You know this? That is ternary operator. You know this? Logic is same, but left side you have 7-8 lines code which you now written in one line. That means left side code is unminified code, uncompressed code, and right side is minified code. That means compressed code. If you can reduce the number of lines, then you can reduce the size of file and you can improve the performance of application. So that is the reason 100 to 100% in real world projects, JavaScript, CSS, we will minify and use. We have to minify and use. And if I ask my developer that write 10,000 lines of CSS in shortcut, it's very difficult because developers cannot waste time in writing all shortcuts because 3-4 lines, okay. In real world projects, you will have thousands of lines of code. And if you ask developer to write shortcut for everything, then he will take a lot of time to think about them. That's the reason we have separate softwares. What you do is you write code and give it to that software. It will compress and give it to you. These softwares are called minification tools. Especially while working with CSS and JavaScript, you have to use them. I will show you the point here. See, this code I written in this CSS file, it is 5 lines code. And observe here, let's open that file. Right click, open in Explorer, and right click and see the size of the file. FX file is 80 bytes. It is occupying 80 bytes. After all, 5 lines only there. If 1000 lines, it will go in MB. Right? Now, I will copy the code of this file. Let's go to online websites. Online, you Google, so many online tools will be there. Online tools like you have to just Google CSS minifier. You will find CSS minifier. This is a CSS minifier. In general software companies, sometimes they download and install a tool and give it to you. What you have to do is just open the tool and upload your CSS code. It will compress and give it to you. But when you are practicing small files, you don't need a separate tool to download and install. You can just use online tools. This is an online CSS minifying tool. What you do is you copy your original CSS code here. That means you copy this code and put it here. After that, just click minify button. You see it shows the shortcut for it. And you just copy the minified one. Copy the minified. Go to your project and create another file by name fx.min.css. That is fx.min.css. Min is not extension. Extension is .css only. Min is just to tell that we have minified it. This is compressed code. Just paste that code here. That's it. Now I will go to home page and remove this original CSS we have. You see, let's open that. You see currently FX are not there. We will use the minified file fxmin.css and minified file working same. Let's see the difference now. We have 2 files. One is original, another one is minified. Let's right click on the minified. How much original was? 80 bytes. And this minified will occupy some 55. That's good. Is there any effect in functionality? No. That is what you have to do with CSS and JavaScript also. JavaScript also have minifiers we have to use. But remember here, after you minify, you will have 2 files now. One is uncompressed, another one is compressed. Developers, while developing, they use the original file. They use this in development. And after development finished, finally they are uploading live That means they are going live. We call it as production. I told you, na? Sandbox, development, quality, and production. Software development happens in how many servers? 4 servers. Sandbox, development, quality, and production. Usually what happens now is this minified is used for production. Minified is used for production. That means why we don't use minified in development? Why we don't use minified in development? In development, we use the original file, and in production, we use the minified file. Why we don't use minified in development? Because you are a developer. If there is any error in the code, how you will track the error? Your debugger will alert you that in line number 4, there is an error. Am I right? Suppose you are writing some Java program, .NET program or something, it will show line number. Na? At which line error is there, it will show. If it is a compressed file, how it will show? If it is a compressed file, everything is reduced to 1 line or 2 lines or 3 lines, then how it will show where the error is? But it will show that there is error, but you cannot find the location of error easily. That's the reason in development, we don't recommend minified. In production, we recommend minified. Every CSS in the world, they have to give 2 files to you. One original file, another one is minified file. You see, you installed Bootstrap, na? You installed Bootstrap. Bootstrap is present in node modules. Let's go to node modules. In that you see Bootstrap folder. In that Bootstrap folder, we will go to dist. In that CSS, and you observe carefully here, they given 2 files to you. The Bootstrap CSS, min.css. They have given both files, but I haven't linked this minified file because we are learning development. So we are using this one. Actually, you can link this minified also. But problem is when you link the minified file, identifying issues will be difficult. Then why they given 2 files to us? Because while designing, use the original file. After design successful, remove the file that have a lengthy code and link the minified file. That means while publishing your project, you use the minified files. That is why every library gives you both. Sometimes they don't want to share the original file with you. Then they will give only minified. Sometimes they don't want to share the original with you, the privacy, or they don't want you to modify or anything. In that case, what they do is they simply say that we will provide only compressed file, you have to use it. So what is the concept of minification? Now you have an answer for this. What is minification? Minification is a coding technique used by developers to compress their code, right? So that is the answer for this. It is a coding technique followed by developers to compress the code and reduce the file size. It is a coding technique followed by developers to compress the code and reduce file size. So it improves the performance of application. It improves the performance of application. So here again a simple note. Development uses uncompressed files and production uses minified files, minified or compressed files. That's what important. Development uses the uncompressed files and production uses production means live, go live. That is minification. So I will give a simple example. Minifying CSS code. First point, write CSS code in your CSS file. Suppose I written heading 1, some color is some green like this. Rough I am giving. Now what we have to do, copy the actual CSS code, go to online minifying tools and paste your code. Online minifying tools, one website that I just used now is this one. This one I use. Online hundreds will be there. So many will be there. You can try any. So you have to paste your code here. After that, you need to click minify. Then after that, copy the minified code. You have to copy the minified code. Go to project SRC styles folder. So, and add a new file. What is that file name? fx.min.cs. And here you have to paste. So paste the minified code. Actually, minified code will be like this. H1 color is equal color. Can you tell shortcut? It will use hash like green 0F0 like this. It can use in this way. That is minified. The original code says green and it is in some 2-3 lines. Now it shrinks. Minification is nothing but removing unnecessary blank spaces, removing the line breaks, and shorten the lengthy names. If lengthy names are there, it will make it short. And it will also change the statements for logic. So in CSS, we have no logic, but in later JavaScript, if you write logic with some statements, those statements also it can transform into short. That's what it can do. Now, what you have to do finally, so link the minified file to your page. So link relation is style sheet. Href is node mod, it is in SRC. Styles fx.min.css. That is the concept of minification. So if anybody asked you like, can I modify styles directly in minified file? Can we modify styles directly in minified file? Yes, we can. but we don't recommend, because remember, minified file also CSS file only. Min is not extension. Extension is .css. That means you can directly modify the minified file. Suppose I want to change color, you can go to minify file and change. But we don't recommend. What we do, we ask our developer to do change in the original file. Then after that, minify again and use it. Remember, currently every change you have to again copy and minify and update. In software companies, what happens? Some tools will be there. Those tools will use shortcut commands. I will show you such command in JavaScript. What you can do is, after making modification, run the command. It will automatically compile and it will generate the new minified file. Every time it will do that. For that, we need to install some tools. With that, we can do. So that means we don't need to go online. Directly, we can do the minification using some tools, right? Yeah. This is one important about minification. While learning JavaScript or CSS, you should know minification. Another important question is, so what is CDN? Also very commonly heard concept every time. When you are working with CSS, when you are working with JavaScript, you will hear this word CDN. CDN is actually content delivery network. Content delivery network is nothing but currently where you kept your CSS file. You kept your CSS file in your project. In your project, SRC styles folder. Suppose if I need this in another project, same styles if I need in another project, then it is difficult. You can't access files of one project in another project. Then what development people will do is, they will maintain a repository server. They will maintain one server. In that server, they keep all the CSS. Now, what is advantage is, any project can access directly from that server. That means they don't need to download. Without downloading CSS, they can access CSS directly from the server. This mechanism is called as what? CDN. We call this as CDN. CDN means content delivery network. That means, observe carefully. Already CDN is there in so many. Suppose this is present in my project. I am using some heading here and a class BI, for example, cart. Like this I defined. So BI cart 2, 3 something I configured. Now here when you define this, will it work? No, because it requires what? Bootstrap icons CSS. But you see currently it is not there. That means it is not going to work here. We need bootstrap icon CSS. If you download it, then it will occupy some space in your project. Without downloading, you can access it. How? You see, you can visit their official website, getbootstrap.com, and in this we have icons, and in these icons you see they given an option how to install. Already we done this, but we don't want to install. Without installing, then scroll down. At the bottom you can see they will give a CDN. They given a CDN. That means, see, they given 3 methods. First method, they say that you install using package manager. Install using package manager like npm. Already we done that. we are installing using package manager. Second, they are saying that you can download. If you don't have a package manager, no worry. We will give a CSS file to download. You download it. It will go into your downloads. Copy that and create a folder in your project. Paste it. That is second technique they are saying. This is too much manual and risky. That's the reason we used the first process. What is that? Package manager. So you can try the second one. Third, they say that you don't download anything. You don't install anything. Just you access from our server. They will say that styles you don't download or install. We will have in our server. From there, you can directly access. And you see they given a link here. Just what you have to do, you have to copy the CDN link. Let's copy the CDN link and you have to paste that in your page. Paste that in your page. That means this time the styles are coming directly from their website. It is a CSS file only, but it is coming from their website. Now you can see that. So that will be working fine. That means without downloading, without installing, we can do this. Now what is advantage is across many projects you can use it. Any project can access and use it. What is the point here is if they make change in the repository, it will affect all projects. Everywhere it will change. Now what is good, bad about this? Good is you can directly access without downloading and installing. So it saves the space of your project because downloading files always occupy space in your project. But what is bad? If you are not online, these icons will not work. How they will work? They have to come from server now. That means you can't practice any of your programs offline. That means 24 hours you need to connect to internet to practice or develop or anything. Why? Because the styles have to come from their server. If you are not connected, it will take time. Sometimes it will take time to load from server. Sometimes the server will not respond because of heavy traffic on internet and all. There are drawbacks. But these days we are not concerned about such drawbacks because now you are in cloud technology. Now we are using cloud technology and we are not much worried about it because these days it is cloud paid service. They provide very fast service. They provide uninterrupted service. Majority everybody uses that mechanism. So that is the reason you should know that CSS in your projects are not accessed from local folders. Sometimes they are accessed from the servers. That mechanism is called as CDN. That means your seniors will say that there will be a CDN link, use it. Because you will ask like, sir, where is Bootstrap icon file? Then they will say that there is no Bootstrap icon file. You have to get it from CDN. They will give you a CDN link. You have to link it. You will access. So that is what CDN is. CDN is nothing but CDN refers to Content Delivery Network. Content Delivery Network. So developers maintain repository. Repository is library on Sandbox. Sandbox is actually a server. So that they can access and use for various applications. They can access and use for various applications. That is CDN. So every CSS we can use CDN. So even Bootstrap also CDN will be there. Bootstrap icons, all those CDNs are available. Right. Now let's see a simple link for that. That means what is the CDN link here? Means no need to copy that entire link. I will just give a syntax like this. Link relation is equal to style sheet, and href is just starting reference I will give. This is like this. And CSS file path. This is CSS file. We just use like this. That depends on different servers. CDN is a content delivery network. So while working with CSS, all these points you should know. What is inline, what is embedded, what is external, what is minification, what is CDN. That is. Now, next important here, after understanding this, now you need to know about the CSS rules for integration. The CSS rules for integration. The basic CSS rules for integration, which are very important to understand. The rules are nothing but, so here in rules, again, the questions will be there. What is that question is, if styles are defined for element using all three techniques, then which set of styles are applied? That is the first basic rule. That means you are applying styles to one element using all three techniques. That means you are writing external file, you are writing embedded, you are writing inline. Then which one will work? That is the basic rule here. So the answer is, question understood? So the answer is, if different attributes are defined, then all will apply. If different attributes are defined, then all will apply. That means you return some attributes using external file, you return some attributes using embedded, you return some attributes using inline. All three will work. All three are going to work. But if same attribute is defined, then if same attribute is defined, then it uses following priority. It uses the following priority. it uses the following priority. What is the priority? The first priority is inline. The second priority is embedded. And the third priority is external style sheet. External style sheet. That is the priority. So that means first priority it will give for inline, after that embedded, and after that external file. That is the priority levels. Let's see what does this means actually. So that means what is that basic rule? So here the basic rule I will show you. Suppose we are having external style sheet. In external style sheet, now heading is having, I will link the original file. Heading is having some background color and text align. Now you see, I will keep only one option here. Suppose in external file for heading color is red. Okay. And I will link that file. I am writing embedded style type is equal to text/CSS. And here I am writing heading color is green. In external file, the heading color is red. In embedded, the heading color is green. And inline, here I will write here. Inline, I will keep style. Color is blue. That means same attribute is used from three places. Then which one will work? So inline. So what will be the color of heading? Blue color. So that is the basic thing you should know. That is the basic point. If inline is not given, then second priority, embedded, means which color? Green. After that, third priority, external file. That's what it is happening. But this is if same is gay. Suppose I am going to external, instead of color, along with color, I given border as 2 pixel solid, so red color border. And go to embedded. In embedded, I given text align as center. In inline, color is blue. Now what will be the style for heading? So heading will have a border. Heading will have center alignment, but color will be blue. Because that is same attribute. According to priority, it will work. That means now that is the effect. So if same attributes are defined, then it uses priority. If different attributes are configured, then it uses all effects. That's the point. This is very important to understand how to configure them. That means these are questions in interviews actually. These are the basic rule. Next important is several other rules will come. Next important, which already we learned. What we learned is where to embed or link CSS in page. Where to embed or link CSS in page. In head or in body. So you can embed in head or body. You can put in both, even link also. You will see so many times developers put the link inside body, not in head section. That means you can link or you can embed in both locations. So for example, this is external file and we are linking that external file here. I will remove. That means the border effect is not there. I will put that in body. In body section, I put it here. It will be working fine. Body, top, bottom, anywhere you can define. That means even link element also can be linked in body or head, depending on what effects it is having. I already told you difference between head and body, right? So, but one technique which you will never see anywhere, online tutorials or YouTube channels, but in real time people use it. Nobody in any book, in any tutorial or in any video will recommend that. But in real time they do that. That is nothing but actually we can link these styles. We can link the styles or scripts or embedded also. We can write outside HTML. We can write outside HTML. And you can see that I am writing outside HTML. Border is working. Right? But you will never see this told by anybody. That means nobody will teach you this or tell you this, that styles are kept outside. They have only two methods for you, either inline or embedded. But when you go to real-time projects, some of your seniors may be writing outside. Now you ask them, why, sir, you are writing outside? Because anywhere I saw they are recommending to keep in head or body, why you are writing outside? Then he will say that writing outside styles and scripts will perform better. That means they will be little fast. Then why can't everybody, why everybody is not telling this? Why everybody is not telling this? Because he will tell one more point, that they will perform fast, but they have abnormal behavior. Abnormal behavior means in some situations they don't work. And what are those situations? That experts know. Because if you worked on more than 5-10 projects, you know the different situations of your project and you can understand that at this moment there is no problem. But in another moment it will be problem. So we don't put in outside. That means if you ask this to your senior, like, then will you recommend me to write outside? Then he will say that no, you write in head or body and give it to me. I will take care. Then if you ask him another question, like, sir, how you know that the situation is good or bad for outline? He will say that after 5-7 years, you will understand, now go. He will not even try to explain you because it is time waste, because you can't understand. That means he need to explain you different project scenarios, which is impossible. He will simply say that after 5-6 years, you will understand. As of now, go and write in head or body. And he will take care about that. You will see that majority people write outside also. It will perform better. For example, you see here, I am having some styles here. So we are having some styles defined. Yeah. I will go to inspect and we will go to network. In the network, we will link this style. In the head or body section, we are linking. And you can see it takes a lot of time. How much? 329 milliseconds to load. 329 milliseconds it taken to load. External file. 329 milliseconds. I will remove this from here and I will put outside HTML. and I will refresh here. 91 milliseconds. It's very much difference, right? That is why the real world people sometimes they violate rules. Why? Because they know the situations. They know what they are doing, and they are confident that it will not fail. That's the reason they violate the rules. They write so many techniques which are not maybe good recommended every time. But sometimes they fail. That's the reason we should not take a chance. So in real world development, such shortcuts you will see so many. Such techniques you will see so many. Then you should not be surprised with them. Why? Because you should know that these are the techniques which work for certain situations, right? But they are not recommended. Nowhere anybody tells you that write link outside HTML, right? They recommend you to write in head or write in body. That is the point. Even scripts also the same concept here. So where to embed? So this is very important. So a simple note is, so you can find so link and the script elements outside HTML scope in real world development. So it is faster in rendering, but may have abnormal behavior. That's the problem. It is faster in rendering, but it may have abnormal behavior. That is. These are some basic points and rules you need to know. CSS has some more rules which we will see in the next point, next concept. Some more rules will add. We will see that. So this is the first thing you need to know. I hope you are clear with the concept how CSS is added to a HTML page. All the techniques, all the concepts behind that, right? Inline, embedded, external, what is minification and what is CDN. And what is the priority? If I write same everywhere, what will happen? The priorities, right? That is important. Now, next, after understanding this, how to integrate, you need to know, so the point like accessing HTML elements to define styles. Accessing HTML elements to define styles. So, how to access the elements and apply styles? For example, the point is simple. To apply styles, how you will access an element first? Because you have to access one element and apply some styles. Heading needs some styles. Then how you will access heading? Heading needs some styles. Then how you will access heading? And how you will write styles for it? For that, actually, that means, see here, the point here is, I will remove this. Yeah. You can see, I will clean up other details. Okay. And I am writing style. Fine. I am removing inline. Okay. Now just only HTML is there. Now I am writing some styles like color is equal to red. For which element it will apply? You return some set of attributes for which element they will apply. They will not apply to any of the elements in HTML. How you will tell where to apply? We have to use a selector. That is important. It is called selector. CSS applies styles by using selectors. That selector is what you use like heading, paragraph, div, span, or you used classes like dot. Those are called as what? Selectors. Do I need a selector every time? Do I need a selector every time? You don't need. If you are writing inline, why you need? If you are writing inline, do you need a selector? No. Selectors are required only when you are writing embedded or external file. So, to access an element, remember, if you are configuring inline, then accessibility is not required. If you are configuring inline, then accessibility not required. There is no need of any because it is going to apply directly for that. If you are configuring embedded or in external file, then you need a selector. That's very important. So usually the syntax will be like this. You have a selector and you have a block. In that we have attribute, value, semicolon, another attribute and value. Like this, you need to write the attributes. So you should start with a selector and mention all the effects in a block. And the block contains key and values. Key is nothing but the attribute and its value. This is basic. Now here the selectors are classified into various types, various groups. There are so many selectors. We have primary selectors. We have rational selectors. We have attribute selectors. We have dynamic pseudo classes. So we have element state pseudo classes. You have like validation state pseudo classes. Validation state pseudo classes. We have structural pseudo classes. And you have universal selector. You have a root selector. You have a language selector. Like this, you have so many. These are some major categories. CSS selectors are so many types. And almost several of them you already learned. In different occasions, I explained. Some you will see now. Already you learned so many of them. While working with paragraphs, while working with ordered list, unordered lists, while working with some links. We used several of them while working with forms, validations. So many of those selectors you already learnt, we already discussed. Here, the major one is the primary selectors. The major one is primary selectors. What are the primary selectors and how to use them? The first thing you should perfectly know is the primary selectors. Actually, in CSS, the primary selectors, we have three types. So we have type selector, we have ID selector, and we have class selector. Type, ID, and class. These are the three primary selectors. One is type, another one is ID, another one is class. What is difference when to use them? Let's see here. What is difference and when to use and how do we handle actually? Generally, suppose let's take one example here. So we have headings. So HTML, CSS, JavaScript like that. Now, what is the type selector? First important type selector is, so it refers to HTML node name. It refers to HTML node name. Type selector refers to HTML node name. Node name is nothing but, suppose you want to write heading. Heading is nothing but H1. Tag name is angle bracket. Without that angle bracket, it is node name. Heading, paragraph, span, image, all these are what? These are all node names. These are type selectors. These are type selectors. What is good? What is bad about this type selector? What is good is it configures effects at every occurrence of element in page. It configures effects at every occurrence of element in page. That means wherever that element comes, the effect will apply. That is a drawback also. That means you see now, we are using type selector. I am writing heading 1, color as red. Now it will apply for all headings. I am writing one more heading at the top, web technologies. And this also gets the same. But first heading should not have that effect. First heading should not have that effect. There is no way. You can't do anything. You can't do anything because you written H1. Wherever H1 comes, it will apply. I told you that we can remove the styles. But if you remove, it will remove for all. That means what is good is occurrence will have that effect. What is bad at any specific location you don't want, you can't ignore it. Wherever heading comes, it will come like this one. So that is the drawback of type selector. That means it configures effects at every occurrence of element in page. And you cannot ignore styles at specific occurrence. You cannot ignore styles at specific occurrence. That is the problem. That is usually type selector. and all these days you used so many of them. Directly we write heading color is red like this. That is type selector. So type selector, directly element name is defined, and that element is configured with effects. Every occurrence of element in page will apply that effect. At any specific occurrence we don't want, it's not possible. You can't ignore that. That is the reason you have another one, ID selector. ID selector. ID selector, here every element in HTML can have a reference ID. You can use the ID to configure effects. You can use ID to configure effects. So ID selector is defined with hash. That means we just give hash and some name. And it is accessed. It is accessed and configured. It is accessed and rendered for element using ID attribute. It is accessed and rendered for element using ID attribute. That means heading ID is equal to the name, whatever name you given. So that is ID selector. So type selector, what is problem? Every occurrence it will apply. What is ID selector? ID selector, it will apply only where you want. That means it is not going to apply everywhere. It will apply only where you want. For example, now I am using here, instead of heading 1, I am using here hash. ID selector is defined with hash and some heading. And you can see that now it is not applied anywhere. To which element you want to apply? So there you can put that ID as what? Heading, and it will apply there. I want for JavaScript, then I put ID as heading. It will apply there. It's not necessary that you should give only for heading. Any element you can give. Suppose there is paragraph and it is a markup language. Then what you have to do? Here ID is what? Heading. That you can apply. That's important. That is good. You can choose where you want. Then what is problem in this? Suppose I want every occurrence, then ID is difficult because everywhere you have to put the ID. So best option is type. What is drawback in this ID selector is, one important problem is every element can have only one ID reference. Every element can have only one ID reference. Hence, multiple categories, multiple sets of styles cannot be applied using ID selector. Multiple sets of styles cannot be applied using ID selector. That is the biggest drawback of ID. But we use it if we want only for one specific, few specific elements, and you want only one set of effects, we can try that. What does that means? I will show you now. Multiple sets of styles means what? For example, see, Generally, when developers write styles, they have an habit of cleanly classifying. That means they don't mess up all the styles at one place. They cleanly divide them, classify. For example, see, I am writing text style. In text style, I kept color red, text align center. I created another ID, border style. There I applied border as 2 pixel, solid, and some red color. We have back style. In that back style, we applied background color yellow. That means developers always have an habit of cleanly separating. Background effects separate, text effects separate, font effects separate. We keep everything separate. What is advantage is we can apply only what we want at specific location. So we have text style, we have border style, and we have backs. Now the question is, I want to apply the text style to this heading. Then how you can apply ID? What is that ID? Text style. Then it will apply there. I want to apply border style also to this. Then how? I want to apply the border style also to this. Then how you define? You have any answer? No? Any comedy class is going on here? You genius people. Any comedy YouTube video is happening here? Right? Yeah. So how you apply other effects? I want to apply background style. Then I am adding ID. ID is equal to back style. It's not possible because every element can have only one ID. That means now I want to try like this. ID, comma, back style. Not possible. I'm using some space, back style. Not possible. So what is the drawback with ID? Only one set of effects you can apply. Multiple you cannot. That is the issue with ID selector. That is the drawback. So if you have some set of effects and you want to use for an element and another set we don't need, then better you can go with what? IDs. Then what is solution for this? The solution for this, you can have a class selector. Class selector. Class selector. So a class selector is defined. A class selector is defined by using, it is defined by using dot and reference name. Dot and reference name. And it is accessed and rendered using class attribute. We have to use a class attribute. It is accessed and rendered by using a class attribute. What is the specialty here? Every element can implement multiple classes. Every element can implement more than one class. That is good. That's the reason you will see if lot of styles and effects we want to apply from different places, then class is only the solution. Because ID, you cannot have multiple. And type, everywhere it will apply. You can't choose where you want. You have to choose where you want and you have to apply for all. Then you have to go with what? So we need to define the class selectors. You know, all these days we used class selectors, right? How you define dot class name, some name, and whatever attributes you want. And for any element, you have to use the class and name. And what is the specialty here is you can apply multiple classes. That means you can write like this. It can have class. So name 1, space name 2, space name 3. Like this, you can add any number of classes. All classes are separated with spaces, which you already used so many times. BI space, BI hyphen, some icon name. That means you are applying 2 classes there. One class gives one effect, another class gives another effect. You are applying multiple classes. You saw BTN primary. That means multiple classes can be defined. So here you can see, I will remove this IDs now. I will change the ID to classes. That means we will use just dot, and dot. These are what selectors? Class selectors. Now I want to apply to the first heading. Then for first heading, we will apply text style. You see text style is applied. I will apply border style, and you can see border style also applied. I want to apply back style. Back style is also applied. For another heading, I want only border. You can give. That means for HTML, I am applying the class. What is it? Border style. That will apply. For paragraph, I want only background. Then for this, I can apply class background, back style, and it will apply only for background. You can choose multiples, one, anything you can apply. That is how the class selectors actually work. This is example of class. All these days you used, but you don't know these points. That means you used type, you used class. At that time, people are very much confused. Why sometimes he is writing type? Why sometimes he is writing class? Right now you have a clarity on that. Why I written header, footer, section directly? Because only one occurrence will be there and I want some effect. Though ID, class, time waste. We can directly apply through type. If multiple places I want to apply and choose them, then we will use a class. If only one set is enough, then you can try IDs. You can try ID. Here also rules are same. If anybody asks like, if I apply styles to any element using ID, type and class, which one will work? So this is the CSS rule. Another one. The CSS rule is first, third or fourth. First 2 rules I explained. No? First 2 rules I explained. What is the first rule? Inline, embedded, external. Which one will work? Second rule, where to embed, head or body. Third rule is if styles are defined to element using type, ID and class selector. So then which set of styles are applied? What do you say? First point is, if different attributes are configured, then what will happen? If different attributes are configured, then all will apply. All will apply. If same attribute is defined, then it uses priority. And here, what is the priority? First priority is given for ID. Second priority for class. Third priority for type. That is the priority order. First priority always for IDs only. ID have first priority, not type. ID have first priority, after that class, and after that type. If you apply same set of effects, then this will be the point. How you can configure the styles and define them, right? Let's see here. That's a very important rule again. Suppose here I'm just giving only one heading. Okay, HTML. And here for this heading, I given dot heading and I given hash head. And this is having color as red. And this is having color as green. One is ID selector. And another one I written as heading, the color as blue. Now for this element, I am applying ID also. ID is what? Heading. Class also. Class is what? ID is head. ID is head and class is heading. All I am applying. What is the color of heading now? What is the color of heading? Green, because the first priority is given for ID. It doesn't matter where you write. Where you write, it doesn't matter. So it will be first priority ID. That means the color of heading will be green. Right? If ID is not defined, then second reference is class. That is why it is red. If class is also not defined, then it will use type. And if all are having different, that means in class I given border 1 pixel, solid, some red. In ID I given background color as what? Yellow. So background color as yellow, something like this. And in type I given as suppose text align as what? Center. And you can see all will apply. If different are there, all will apply. If same attribute is there, priority. Sometimes they may ask like, for example, I given ID embedded, I given ID external, then which one will work? You know the priority between external and embedded. Which one have priority? Embedded. Then obviously embedded will work. Right? If they are given with different alignments, means different attributes, all will work. Same, then this is the priority how it uses. This is the point about the primary selectors. These are primary selectors. You have some other important selectors that we will see on Monday session. Okay. These are very important even for JavaScript, because JavaScript also uses these selectors for accessing elements. So you should know different types of selectors, how they work, right? Monday we'll continue with that. Okay, right.